Welcome to the video. My name is Agent Double Sonic and part 2. You can have the mic back if you want. First, viewer discretion. Some of the images that will be shown may disturb some viewers. Parents that are watching this with younger audience members, please judge accordingly. Okay, back onto it. In the previous video, we did just one piece, but in this video, we are going to do the last 2 pieces Natasha commissioned, and there are 2 more Japanese folklores. I will do a rough sketch to get my idea on paper, including the colors that I would think goes best for the piece. Now, you may be asking, so what exactly am I drawing for the first one? Well, my dear viewer, or listener, let me share with you the tragic tale of this folklore creature, of this yokai. The information I will be relaying comes from the site yokai.com. I will put the link below if you want to check out this and many other yokais on your own time. The first creature is called Oiwa, and this one is based on a true story. The origin comes from the real-life Oiwa passing in 1636, and it's said that she still haunts the place that she lived. There has been many curses associated with her presence, but the story begins. Oiwa married a samurai named Iman, but it wasn't the best marriage. Oiwa's father knew Iman was a thief and told him to come clean and then to divorce his daughter Oiwa. Iman, after the confrontation, murdered Oiwa's father, and when Iman returned home, told Oiwa that it was a stranger that killed him. Time passed and Oiwa became pregnant and gave birth to their son. Oiwa became sick after the birth, and Iman's hatred for Oiwa began. But next door lived a rich doctor whom had a beautiful granddaughter named Ume, who thought Iman was very attractive and wanted to marry him. Thus the conspiracy began. The doctor gave Iman medicine to give to Oiwa to recover from the sickness, supposedly. But it was actually a poison that disfigured her face and thus pushed the divide between Oiwa and Iman even further apart, and Ume and Iman together due to Ume being younger and more beautiful. Iman began selling more and more personal items to marry Ume, and even hired a friend of his to do some unmentionable things to Oiwa for infidelity for the legitimate divorce reasoning. When Iman's friend saw Oiwa's face, he was horrified and told Oiwa everything. She saw her face for the first time, and the medicine she thought was helping her actually caused the disfiguring. She tried to cover up her face with the hair, but it just started falling out in bloody, messy clumps. This was the breaking point, driving her to madness from the whole ordeal. Oiwa grabbed her husband Iman's sword, slashed her throat, and as she bled to death, she cursed her husband's name over and over until she expired. If you thought that was crazy, wait until you hear the rest of this. I'll get right back to the lore of Oiwa, but what you will see now is a second rough draft with some fine tuning, and then I will start on the final version of the piece explaining a bit more detail. But for now, back to the conclusion of Oiwa. Oiwa's body was found by Iman's servant, who told Iman, who of course was thrilled she was dead, which the servant, Kohei, thought was suspicious. But Iman murdered Kohei before anything could have been done. Iman nailed both Oiwa and Kohei's body to a door, and threw them in a river. A lie was told that the 2 of them were having an affair, and thus legally freeing Iman to marry Ume. The curse that Oiwa placed on her husband took effect on the night that Iman and Ume were married. While in bed with Ume, Iman couldn't sleep, so he rolled over and saw the face of his dead wife, Oiwa. Terrified, he grabbed his sword and slashed at Oiwa's face, and turns out it was just all an illusion, and it caused him to kill Ume. He ran over to his father-in-law's house for help and saw Kohei's ghost. He slashed at Kohei, but again it was just another illusion, and it was the grandfather of Ume, the doctor, dead on the ground. Iman ran away in the dead night, but Oiwa followed him. Everywhere he went, he saw her face, even in his dream and lanterns that lit the night. He ran far into the mountains and hid isolated from everyone and everything in the cabin, but Oiwa was there too, and no longer being able to tell the real world from a nightmare that he lived, he eventually descended into madness, and thus ended the tale of Oiwa. This is it, the final Oiwa drawing. Taking all we know, now the context, now you know what this represents. Cue the dramatic... What I learned about this piece while inking and coloring was to be delicate with the shading, with the line work, just to keep it as smooth as possible, especially the colors. I wanted to imitate an older yet refined drawing that kept the stylistic manners seen in like the images earlier, especially like those posters. I wanted to make sure that you, the viewer, or anyone that gets to see this art, know where the lantern came from, the cut on her throat, the markings along her face, and make sure that it truly showed all the correct lighting and the pain that she experienced throughout this entire ordeal. I wanted to keep everything blended together and just really send that story across to whoever looks at this artwork. And honestly, I think you'll like the final results, but now to the second yokai of this video. Alright, I am super hyped how it came out. Let's go ahead and get started on the second one, and it's going to be of Hari Onago, and I will explain more what that is. This yokai is called Hari Onago, or Hariona, a beautiful woman with very long hair. From afar, nothing seems out of the ordinary. A gorgeous woman with long hair, only slightly messy, walking alone the streets of Japan at night. If she happens to come across a young man, she'll smile, and then wait for his response. If he returns a smile, he has sealed his fate, as her hair attacks. A mind of its own, her hair moves at incredulous speeds with barbed endings that sink into the young man's flesh and snarl at him, and thus becoming her new victim. Even the strongest of men are unable to escape. Once the barbed endings of her hair have gone into their flesh, they rip them apart and then devour them. Really quick, this is the last piece, and I decided to do this one in purely ink. If you watch my channel for a bit, or not, that's okay too. For context, I truly dislike inking. It's the bane of my existence. I'll put the card of the video of the inks I'm using. I got them from an art kit called the JPAC from the YouTuber Jazza. But before I show you the process of the last one with me using these, I want to show you this time lapse of me using an iPad. This time lapse that you'll see as I tell you the last bit about the Hari Onago will be the second sketch of the yokai that you saw before. I took a picture, sent it to Procreate, sketched it with various inks and pens and colors, but now this is very rough because digital art is not my forte. I do want to learn it, and I will, I promise you that. But here's a time lapse of me creating the digital piece that I used off the second one. Now back to the rest of the lore about this yokai. If Ariona is after you, you could escape. If you can run extremely quickly and have your home nearby with strong doors or a gate. If you can get within your home in time before the deadly hair and barbs get a hold of you, then you might be able to survive until sunrise. That's when the yokai will vanish. Besides the trauma and nightmares that will haunt you for the rest of the time, as a constant reminder of your brush of death, the gashes and damages to the door will remind you, as well as a warning to young men not to pick up strange women. And that is the story of the Hari Onago. I saved this for last because I was truly terrified of getting so far and messing up with the inking. But you know, that being said, getting so far into this, I was just itching to be done with it, not because I spent so much time in the preparation and planning, but the fact that this was the final step in the execution of it and the piece would have been completed. Now, I used the brush line because I wanted to have the brush strokes to be as calligraphy-esque as possible. I know that's not even a word, but I'm using it because I'm the one writing the script, doing the voiceovers and the editing, so I get to create words too. But moving along to the smaller details, such as the shadows, I used a fine liner and did single line shadowing because I wanted to keep the focus on her hair. The weight of the inks are the heaviest there, and by using this lighter weighted ink, it did add life to her overall appearance, but not too distracting from the hair. And speaking of the hair, even though I did say I used a brush line for the hair, but come on now, she's a freaking monster. They don't got monster shampoo and conditioners in salons. Her hair is messy. She's probably just got done like devouring like 20 men strolling down the dirt road alley or something. But seriously, using the fine liner to add these little loose hairs or flyaways, whatever the technical salon terminology calls them, I thought it was a great touch. Ooh, I bet you thought I was done with this.
So did I.
Nope. I decided on the whim, after looking at this gorgeous yokai, she needed some color. Some color to bring her to life. Still keeping up with the inking, I grabbed some alcohol-based markers, using a light gray to highlight the shadows that we created, a slightly bit darker one to darken the shadow areas, and a very, very light blue to give her dress just a little bit of style. Getting this far into the piece though, there's an odd sense of dread and hope. The dread because you've gotten so far, and messing up means you have spent so much time only to completely ruin a piece. But hope, and for me personally, getting this far means I get to see the final results. The grand payoff. I know I've worked through this piece and it's given me a ton of insight and practice on more humanistic figures and structures. It's something that I don't usually do, to be honest. I draw a lot of cartoon characters and I want to branch out more. But not only that, but getting to learn about other cultures and something that has had such a impact for so long. Now, for her skin, I used a fair peach, a light orange, touches of blues to give her proper alive appearance with a bit of an ethereal mix. And lastly, the blood on the end of the barbed tips of her hair that dripped onto her clothing and the ground to be those final touches. Woo! You have no idea how, wow, it's done. I am so genuinely happy. I will say this is the proudest I have been of my artwork since I pulled off the Gabumon multimedia piece right here. Natasha, thank you for patience. I hope you enjoyed these. I thoroughly enjoyed making them. Yeah. Anyways, let's go ahead and show you what the final products look like.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have your doubts, not what I'm about, have your cloud, it be raining now. I keep making sound, go another round, I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't. Just tell me that I can.
So what'd you think? So good, so good. Between the first, the second, and the third piece, out of all three of these, I want to say my favorite, the third one. It's just, I went for it. Between the markers, between the inking, between adding the blood that I didn't even think I was gonna have. It was something I did on a whim. Peace, love, and hot sauce, Natasha, thank you so much. The rest of my commissioners, don't worry, I got y'all. Peace, love, and hot sauce, and all, well, peace, love, and hot sauce, and as always, yeah. Alright, we out.